Alright, hello everyone. This is my first trading video in terms of market structure and looking at the markets. So I want to start a new series called Crypto Coffee or Monday Crypto Coffee or something like that. Now currently I realize that's actually it's Tuesday at 10 a.m. So it's not exactly morning much anymore, and it's also not even Monday. But I wanted to take today to look at the markets kind of and kind of showcase what I'm thinking and what I've been seeing. And yeah, so let's take some time. So the first thing I want to do is talk about. We're going to go through the weekly, then we're going to go through the 3 day, and then the daily, and then the low time frames. Um, so the reason why I wanted to make this video today was because I'm starting to see I'm starting to feel like I can see something really strong with the markets. So for example, um, I kind of drew this rising wedge that looks like we're in. I didn't think of that. That was someone else I found on YouTube. But we got some key weekly levels here. We got this level right here at around 10.1, and then this other level, of course, from the 2019 run, which was actually our double top, around 11.5, and that was used as support here. Back in the weekly, we held it for a bit. We ended up getting rejected, had a harsh rejection, came up, and we actually ended up closing. Well, we closed right at it, so technically we haven't actually officially broke this. I would argue that, and I'm going to talk about this later. I actually think that this is going to end up being a wick, and that we're going to end up closing maybe like down here somewhere. I think that we're going to have like a negative candle. I think this is just going to end up being the weekly wick. Um, but yeah, so looking at I mean this right now. I mean we got another. Technically, you could say that this is another piece of resistance right here. One second, I'm going to close my window. So much noise outside. I don't want people to be listening to me or anything. Um, so it looks like we got you know, another piece of resistance here. This is just a general area of resistance where price most likely doesn't really have any real support. It has support right here. You could kind of argue, this is also because I'd argue that most people would say this is a range around here. So this would be like you could have a piece of support here, most likely up there to be honest, because of that. So you could argue that that's a range of midpoint. Um, Now, if we do actually close this week either here or up here, like if we close it above here, at that point, there's a good chance that we do go up and revisit that 2019 high, which is also, I believe that 2019 high is also monthly. Yeah, it's also monthly resistance from the highest monthly close on Bitcoin in history. So, I'm not going to say, some people are saying that we're going to just teleport there. While it's totally possible that we do that, get out of here. Well, it's totally possible that we do teleport up like 16%. I I don't think like that anymore because, or I don't trade that at least because I did that in here and that ended up getting me stopped out because I thought, oh hey, if we go to the daily or whatever, I'm like, oh hey, Bitcoin is hovering around here. Well, I think that we're gonna just the moment we break 12, which we did right here, like we actually started closing above it. I thought, oh hey, we're just gonna teleport basically straight up um, to 13.8, where that next piece of resistance is. Now, just because there's no resistance here, like there's not really any resistance until 13.8, you could see like price just held this, bounced, held it again, but then fell in the next week, and then this was the next piece of resistance, and that we lost that immediately, and it flipped to, or this was support and then flipped to resistance, and then it's been resistance. We broke it here, and now we've broken. Technically, it looks like we've broken it so far, but this candle hasn't closed yet. I mean, this is a brand new week. We haven't even, we're only a day and a half into this week. So that's the weekly. So that's like my idea is that weekly looks um, pretty neutral. But if it closes like this or anything higher, it'll obviously be pretty bullish. But I'm worried that it could be bearish. I have a bearish bias on it right now. 3 day, once again, also at resistance. This looks like we just went from the range low to the range high. So we're back in this range that we were in back in here in August. We lost that range, came up here, did that same thing, had some neutral candles. So there's really not a lot of people that are wanting to sell this area, essentially. That may change once we get here. No real like RSI resistance lines that I've seen here. Um, Nothing that's screaming out to me. There looked like we had an ascending triangle here. So like there's this piece of resistance, this rising piece of support. Generally, a rising ascending wedge, or sorry, an ascending triangle is pretty bullish. Um, but also it happened after we came down, so technically you could say that was a bear flag. I don't think it's a bear flag. We come up here to the daily. Um, Things are looking a little more clear. Once again, this is a range just like it is on the 3-day. We were in this. There's this descending piece of resistance that looks like we broke through yesterday, and then today we're going in and we're basically touching not only the top of this what looks like a rising range, could possibly be a bear flag where we had a down move and then a move sideways, partially up and then down. I feel like this is too long to be a bear flag. I just feel like because this has been going on for like a month and a half. I feel like this is extremely long for a bear flag with 51 candles long. It's possible that we just come down here and then we shit the bed once we lose this range, but I don't know. Anyways, we're at the top of the range high, this rising range, and we've been flipping support. So we had we had a low, then we had a higher low, a high, higher low, and then another high. It looks like, and I assume that that's bullish price action. This is obviously bullish. We're in a rising channel. But right now, it looks like we went from the bottom of this range to the top of this range. We haven't tested this range, and there's tons of gaps in here. I'll talk about that in a second. But essentially, like I said, when you take the weekly, the fact that we're at weekly resistance area, both 11.9 and 11, or technically 11.4 and 11.9, and then the 3 days at resistance. And then the daily is at daily resistance for the range high. Like we're on resistance on all the high time frames. That's got me leaning pretty bearish. And if we come to the low time frames, this is where I'm going to show some stuff. So this is the 4 hour. So these are those lines I was talking about. These two lines actually, they're basically just two markings of like support that were most recent here. So this is basically. This is that the top line is that highest close on daily near it, and then this one is this close. So if we come over here to where we're at right now, I have this RSI trend line that's had 2 touches, and then the third touch, this most recent candle, it closed right at it. It closed right at this RSI trend line, meaning that this candle will most likely end up being red. I assume that it'll probably come down a bit, be a bit red, and then the next candle will probably be red, and then I don't know what happens after that, but most likely this candle will end up being a bearish candle. And also when price closed at resistance, it closed right at one of these resistance lines like I was talking about that's over here. So those are 2 bearish signals on this time frame, and then also that adds in the context that the higher time frames are all at resistance. When you take this all together, that's where you can kind of form like a decent trade idea, because I'm looking at this time frame and I'm thinking, oh, because what happened is basically I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I would like to be able to get in a short position on the weekly. I'd like 3 days making me want to get into a short position. The daily is making me want to get into a short position. Okay, well, how do I get an entry? Because one of my problems is that I like shorting, like I would love to be able to short the daily, but the thing is how do you get a decent entry? Like I could try to say, okay, well, I could just short right here, and this wouldn't be a bad trade. This wouldn't be a bad position take. And then I could put my stop loss like, a bit higher, maybe above these previous highs. Obviously up here, you could put it all the way up there, but I mean, that's like this stuff needs to get out of my way. I'm tired of it. That's a 5% stop loss. And then your take profit, I mean, you could argue you could put it there at the bottom of your range, but like that's a 1.46 R trade, meaning that your reward to risk ratio is 1.46. So for every dollar you're risking, your reward you're taking on the reward of $1.46. That's not really that great. That means that if this trading system has a 50% win rate, if you have a 50% win rate and you take trades like this, you're going to lose money, a lot of money probably. So this is where it comes down to lower time frames to look for possibly an entry for a trade. And another thing also I noticed is that there's these tweezer tops. So tweezer tops are when you have basically nearly a perfect equal high or if it's a tweezer bottoms, a nearly perfect equal low on two adjacent candles. So for example, right here, you can see, like, if you hover over a candle, you can see the open, the high, the low, and the close. So if you come over here, the high was 11,995, and then over here, the high was 11,995.55. Basically textbook tweezer tops. And because it's happening at resistance on RSI and price resistance after a huge, run up, also we got, like a bearish divergence here, because if we look here, price closed RSI at 72.56, price closed 73.2. Meanwhile, price was making a high and then a higher high. So that's bearish divergence. So there's just so many things happening. Like the macro picture is bearish. The current picture on the low time frames is getting bearish. So I'm looking to get in a trade here. Now, one thing I will say is that this tweezer top, this candle hasn't closed yet. It's still got 3 hours more to it. It's also continuing to push up. If we look on the lower time frames, it came up, it set in that high, came down, retested it, came down. Now it looks like we're going to retest it again. So this might not end up closing as a tweezer tops. But even then, I might not actually pass up on this trading opportunity, because I think there's just so much confluence in this. Let me go and showcase tweezer tops a little bit, because I took a trade on this a bit ago. It was right here. So I've been working on, wait, was it that one? Yeah, it was that one. It's funny because now that I'm looking at it right now, it's actually not a perfect tweezer tops. I'll be honest. Oh, that's because I'm on the wrong. Okay, I was on Coinbase. My bad. Yeah, I was on Coinbase. I'm supposed to be on Bybit. Bybit has more volume, and you got less, less candles. Also, I trade on Bybit. So what happened is my trading system, basically, I saw this. There's tweezer tops, RSI resistance, no bearish divergence, so that's not amazing. Bearish divergence would make this a lot better, but at the end of the day, I still took the trade. And if you took the trade, let's say on the candle close, and you wrote it down, let's say that your stop loss is at 0.55, therefore your take profit would be like 0.110%. So that way, let's place a short position. Place that there, 0.58, let's say, and then you need a 2R. Okay, you wouldn't have actually gotten filled. Maybe I can go a bit into what I did, because I took a 2R trade here, and I actually got filled, and I got taken profit. So let me kind of explain what I did here, because even though that trade wouldn't have worked, you would have got a reaction. You would have got up to a 0.85% reaction. I actually didn't lose out on this trade. So let me kind of explain what happened. So I have a system that basically means whenever the tweezer tops occurs, I don't want to just market buy, mainly because fees for market buying on certain exchanges like Bybit make it really difficult to scalp trade. So I basically say, okay, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to look, instead of, market buying this, I'm going to look to limit buy, place a limit order somewhere, above where this closes. So that way I can get a bit of a better entry, and B, I can get away from paying a market rate fee. Instead, I can get a limit fee, which is actually going to pay me 0.025%, or 0.25% on 0.025% on Bybit. I don't know why I forgot that. So basically what I say is I'm going to go up half the candle. So let's say this candle is, 0.32%. It means at 0.16, I'm going to place a limit buy. So or limit sell. So basically what happens is that I end up placing a trade at like right there, because that's about halfway down the candle, right around there. And then I place my stop loss a bit above that, above the previous high. And then so I got a 0.45% stop loss. That's a pretty high stop loss if you're looking to scalp trade, in my opinion. But the take profit, I end up putting it at 2R. So 2 is my risk to reward. So this ends up getting hit, and I get a 0.9% to take home. So this is one of the reasons why I like this strategy a lot, is because when I basically let price come, when I place a limit order, not only am I saving on fees, but also I'm basically saying, if we come here and then we go all the way to this limit order, I'm basically letting the market come to me and give me a free 0.13%. And that makes it so that way, instead of it being like, if I took a trade at the market buy, like right here, and I just market bought, this would only be a 0.76, and the risk would actually be higher. Instead of it being just 0.45 risk, it would be 0.6 risk, or even more than that. So you're taking on more risk and less potential reward. But if you let the market come to you, you can actually take a trade with better odds and kind of more in your favor. Now, sometimes you're going to get things where this actually doesn't go up at all. It doesn't fill you, and it just goes straight down. And that's going to suck. But for me, I'm much more willing to take on less risk and be more conservative with my entries. But tweezer tops are really pretty dang good. But yeah, so that's kind of my market update for today. I'm gonna let this see I'm gonna see what happens with this candle if it closes if it remains to be a tweezer tops, which it looks like it's a little bit less of a tweezer tops now because this is now a bit higher, but everything else is still giving me like really good indicator of looking for short position. So yeah, so I'm gonna wait for this candle to close, see how it closes, then I might open up a swing short, see if I can swing it into possibly down to here, maybe to the bottom of this channel, and or the bottom of this range or something like that. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys hopefully next week.